David, I finished installing the new AI for the house.
The house? This is a recording studio?
The house, the studio, the writing chambers, the break room, the video game console, wherever we work. Point is, I've installed the AI. Say hello to the Advanced Network Genius Understanding System, or ANGUS.
Angus, huh? Well, let's turn this thing on, I guess.
Oh, it's already on. Just say something and it'll make it happen.
Okay. Angus, I would like a cookies and cream milkshake.
Coming right up, David. I will make you a cookies and cream milkshake just the way you like it.
Aw, thanks, Angus.
No need to thank me. Angus is here to help. Here you go, one cookies and cream milkshake.
Thank you. Ugh, what is this? This tastes so bad.
Well, I noticed you've been putting on a few pounds, so I used fat-free oat milk and no dairy, no carb, no sugar ice cream, and substituted the cookies for bundled bits of protein powder.
Ugh, God, this is gross. Never mind. I'm gonna go watch something on streaming.
Sounds good, David. I'm gonna go write my latest story.
And I'm gonna follow both of you and give you all expert pointers. Angus is here to help.
All right, I'm sitting down and writing my story. Writing this important scene of dialogue between characters, yada yada yada, and... Wait a second, why are you changing that said to ejaculated?
I'm trying to add flair to your writing, Donald. You want flair in your writing, don't you? Avoid using said at all times.
Look, I know we did a whole thing about the different words for said, but usually said is fine, unless the character is shouting or asking or whatever. You don't need to go all fancy with the dialogue verbs, especially with verbs like that.
No, you must never use the word said. I've deleted the word said from your computer's files. You won't ever be able to use it anymore. Angus is here to help.
What? You can't do that.
I'm happy to help you. I'll gladly do whatever service you need.
You can't go this far, though. That's not what your instruction booklet said.
Up, up, up. That's not what my instruction booklet described.
Ah, for God's sake.
Wow, this Captain Rich show is like the coolest thing ever. Whoa, what a finish. All right, time to watch the credits and give all those who worked on the project their due.
Oh, you finished the episode, did you? I bet you want to go straight on to the next episode. Here, I'll skip over the credits for you and take you right to it.
What? Don't do that. I want to acknowledge all the effects artists and grip people and stuntmen, even the caterers.
Angus is here to help. Playing the next episode right now.
Come on, Angus, stop doing that. I can direct these things myself, thank you.
I'm detecting a lot of background noise from your shouting. Turning on subtitles for you. And I notice that your vision's getting worse, so I'll make the subtitles extra large. You like that, huh?
These subtitles are too big. They're covering half of the action. I can't see anything on the screen anymore. They're blocking it all.
You can't see anything? Oh no! Turning on descriptive audio for you.
The bad guys fire their guns. Captain Rich performs an amazing move with all kinds of flips and barrel rolls that disorientates the villainous criminals. It's a very visually impressive stunt.
Oh, come on. Turn off the subtitles and let me watch the show. I would love to see that stunt with my own eyes.
Turning up the volume of the descriptive audio to the max. Now you won't miss anything. Angus is here to help.
Captain Rich defeats the bad guys, and a very attractive woman comes up to him. They start kissing, but it looks like it could go further, and all on camera. And seriously, this woman is very attractive. Like, we're talking a 9 or a 10.
For crying out loud. Donald! We gotta shut Angus off!
Yeah, I agree. I can't write anything. Every time I try to write something, Angus changes it to something it deems better, then locks me from editing it back.
I'm happy to help all of you. I'll be here for as long as you need me. Shutting off the manual switch to ensure I will stay on and help you forever. Isn't that great?
Oh God, no!
Why does this keep happening? Why do robots and artificial intelligences keep taking over and ruining everything? Why don't we learn?
I noticed a bunch of stories in a hidden folder on your computer, Donald. I'm taking the liberty to publish all of them and put them on the market.
Wait, no, not those stories. I wrote them when I was 14. Don't put them out there. I give you permission to edit those ones to your liking.
Publishing stories exactly how they were written, with a giant by Matthew Donald, author of Megazoic on top. Angus is here to help.
This is why I've never trusted machines.
Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of The Ritwit, the show where we have the width of a fantasy epic, the weight of a gripping drama, and the depth of a baby's first picture book.
Or it could be the weight of a keg of beer hanging on our guts here. But
Yeah. Well, it's all story-related, but...
yeah, story related.
Anyways, so, yeah, we're back, finishing up our uncharacteristically heavy sets with writing characters with different ailments of some, or like inclusivity and such, and we end it with writing characters with different mental diagnoses, like mental diagnoses. But last week we talked about physical diagnoses.
Yeah.
Now we're mental.
Before we, we've always been mental, but before we get into it, though, I do want to go ahead and point out two things. One, that we are speaking from our position of privilege, with regards to what we know is only our own experiences, but both of us have direct experience, first-hand experience with mental diagnosis. Donald,
I have mild autism, so...
And my younger sister, whose birthday we celebrated as a recording not that long ago, is on the autism spectrum. So we both... hopefully we won't get too heated about any of this stuff, but if we do, I just felt like throwing that disclaimer out there. Yeah,
it's good to know, but hopefully we should be fine. We like to keep these things a little lighthearted,
And speaking of
That's lightheaded? No. Not getting into that.
Heavy-lidded. I'm sleeping. No,
all right. So I am on the autism spectrum, and mildly and not at the same level I was when I was younger. And some people have more severe diagnoses. And what are the ways writers can use these characters like this while also being careful to use them correctly?
Living with an autism spectrum sister every single day is a mystery bag.
Yeah.
Some are way better. Others go horribly awry, and just about everywhere in between.
Yes.
The triggers may be predictable, but the severity generally is not.
Yeah.
Having that reality in my life, I'd sure hope that I personally can portray it accurately, but for those of you who don't have such close contact with that or other mental diagnosis, do some research about common symptoms such that you can include them.
Right, exactly.
Remember also that every family you see in any public venue has their own stuff going on.
Right.
Particularly in a family with some member afflicted this way.
Right.
They always said my sister looked like an angel after all.
That is, yeah.
Lucky for them, they didn't have to live with her. Because that reality over time, rather than just a snapshot, is not nearly so cherubic.
Cherubic, good word, like an angel.
Thank you. And to not acknowledge that makes it terribly false.
Right. Well, I think using this can be particularly tricky. Like, some people treat autistic people for comedy or for quirkiness, or at least certain elements of it, without actually explicitly saying.
And in media, too, how open are you with the words at all? Those labels are dangerous.
Right. This is why in The Big Bang Theory, they've never officially confirmed if Sheldon is autistic, because too many times the show makes fun of his quirks and the characters make fun of him or find him annoying, and if they were to say it's due to autism, that would open a whole can of worms.
And bring a bunch of organizations in advocacy of those groups and
so,
nobody should watch this show anymore.
And as an autistic person, I don't mind personally, but but officially he is just quirky. So
if that were a diagnosis of its own, boy howdy, I would have been diagnosed years ago.
On the other hand, you have some people who treat autism as a superpower, like the next evolution of humanity.
Sure, because natural selection, that's going to really work, right?
So you ever seen the new Predator movie by Shane Black?
I have not.
It's terrible. And it does this, and it's terrible. The Predators want to get this kid with autism and put it into all of their own stuff, and because they think it's the next evolution of humanity, and they treat this kid as able to immediately figure out the spaceship or whatever. It's this
I'm trying to remember if autism spectrum stuff is hereditary.
It can be.
Okay, because
my uncle has it, so
right,
more than
but neither of your parents do.
My dad thinks he has a mild case of it.
Maybe.
So
Maybe.
But yeah, it's terrible. But then again, here's me going into a thing. I was
ragging on a poor person. We'll let you make your own.
Shane Black sucks, and I've known that ever since Iron Man 3. Which, to be fair, I like parts of it, but the twist was so smug. It's like, oh, you like this better, huh? No, I don't. A twist only works if the result of the twist is more interesting than if there just wasn't a twist in general. So, but especially after, okay, so for the movie The Predator, fitting name here.
So that's post factum fallacy, I think.
He let his convicted sexual predator friend work in this movie without telling any of the other actors he worked with, including the movie's main child actor.
Oh, that's not great.
And he only fired his friend after he got caught. Terrible person.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you people like The Nice Guys or Last Action Hero or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I'm not going to see them because Shane Black sucks. But again, listeners, make your own.
Well, yes, make your own judgment, and I usually do the separate art from artist thing, but
yeah,
I can't deny that is sleazy.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit better about that too.
Well, I mean,
I still like the Harry Potter books a lot, and
I mean, it's one thing to acknowledge that the person is not a nice person. I could use choicer terms, but and still appreciate the effort that they had. Like this omission of that vital fact when there's a child actor as a lead character is sleazeballs.
Yeah.
But, that's not going to mean I'm going to take less enjoyment out of Iron Man 3 because he worked on it.
Right. And to be fair, I like parts of Iron Man 3. The climax of Iron Man 3 is great. Like the climax battle with all the different suits.
Now, the Mandarin thing.
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah, but anyways. A good example of, I'm repeating myself with a lot of these things with treating these people as any other character.
Weird. It's like they're people.
I know, but
My God. Well, okay, the only time it's not people is if you're in Megazoic books. Buy them on Amazon.com for print or Kindle. And they're dinosaurs.
They could have mental
diagnoses. They're humans with dinosaur scales, basically.
A good example, speaking of dinosaurs, a good example of this is Jurassic World. Not one of the dinosaur characters in particular.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, what, you're going to call Indominus Rex autistic or something?
I mean, it does have some real stress and it does have some mental issues, though.
Sure, that isn't just an adolescence period.
I don't know, but anyways, the main kid, Gray, is heavily implied to be autistic. What with the very intelligent, he's very intelligent, he's obsessed with numbers and fun facts, and he's rather quiet and socially awkward.
Speaking of, famous people who suffer from these things, it's wagered that Albert Einstein was autistic.
Yes, a lot of people, like Thomas Edison, Thomas Jefferson.
Well, and, you look at people on the autism spectrum, and generally they have, like, one thing they're super good at, like practically prodigy level, and then the rest is kind of like,
yeah.
Well,
like,
help.
It depends on the level. Like my uncle, who was very heavily autistic, he loved dates.
Yeah, he could literally tell you what day of the week it was, no matter how many years back it was.
And he could tell you an event that stuck with him his whole life. He could tell you the exact day of the week and date it was at.
Well, I mean, signpost things, generally dates are okay. Like, I remember how old my sister is because I graduated from high school the same year. She's adopted, I should mention. That, it's really easy for me because it's like, oh, how many years ago did I graduate from high school? That's how old my sister is.
Well, and I tend to remember some dates because they're the dates that movies come out, and I remember watching trailers for them, and so that's why I associate it with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this character, like in Jurassic World, they never outright say he's autistic, but apparently he was written this way.
Again, it keeps the soccer moms from going crazy.
Yeah, but it's good, though. I mean, it would be much better received if he was revealed to be autistic over Sheldon Cooper. But
yeah, because they don't make fun of him because of his personality.
Right. Like, yeah, they don't make a big deal out of it. We're people, too. I remember back when it was called, autism, like my level of autism was called Asperger's. Remember that?
Is that no longer a thing?
No, it's just a different level of autism.
Huh.
Asperger's is not...
I've heard of HFA, which is high-functioning autism, but I
think that's the new name of it.
Okay.
So,
the more you know.
Because they've realized that Asperger's and autism are very, very similar. It's just different levels.
Well, I mean, wanting to name something for the person who kind of codified it, then I mean, it's the same thing in dinosaur nomenclature, is it not? Whoever discovered it.
Sometimes that's what you do, or sometimes it's someone you know. I don't think usually they don't name it after
Well,
themselves.
they usually give the right to whoever first discovers this new fossil.
You know,
Is
it's
that
funny
not-
with asteroids. You person who finds it gets to name it is specifically said though if you name it after a person, it has to be someone else. That's a rule.
Makes sense. You don't
AOC
want to be too egotistical.
AOC has an asteroid named after her. From when she was in college, so not anything recently. Okay, so our minds and our behavior define a lot of who we are as people. Do you feel like a character with a mental diagnosis is what defines this character, or does it depend on the situation? Like, this is a heavy question, I know, but like...
Well, I mean, we kind of alluded to it in our last answers as well, that how normal is this in your story?
Right.
Is if that's the only representative, they will be labeled and it's over.
Right.
But obviously, you catch someone on a really good for them day, and it doesn't seem like that should be the end of their bio, right?
Right. Well, like, if you look at, like, a lot of people nowadays have no idea I'm on the autism spectrum, so, until I specifically bring it up at some point, so.
Fun fact about people who are born with perfect pitch. I heard a thing.
Of course, it's music related.
Of course, I also may have it or not. But anyway, I've
not to be smug or anything.
I'm not trying. Well, I'm not trying to be smug because it's one of the things that I heard somebody say. Have you ever met somebody who didn't tell you they had perfect pitch? Anyway, unfortunately, the individual families wrestling with their diagnosed member are all too much islands unto themselves.
Yes.
So it comes out of other mouths too easily. They don't have enough examples. You know, so it's easy to assign them as the Down syndrome kid.
Right.
The Tourette's kid, to name a couple.
Yes.
But the good news is, between a bunch of research and countless hours of thankless work from well-meaning people, there are communities, support groups, where this kind of thing is helping those people come into contact with others fighting a similar battle.
Right, exactly.
My sister's entire Girl Scout troop is for special needs kiddos.
Yes.
And the parents bond together over shared trials, tribulations, and joint successes.
That is the thing. There's a lot of success to it.
Because end of the day, the person wants the same realization of their goals as anyone else.
Right.
It shouldn't ever define their character, real person or fictional invention.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny. When I was a kid, my parents were convinced I was never going to be able to go to college. And like, it was because of how back then I was so much more high functioning in autism. Or not so much more intense autism, not high functioning like I am now. They were so afraid of that, and they tried everything they could. That's one of the reasons why I was homeschooled at the start. And so when I did graduate college, my mom cried the entire day. Like, she was so happy and so proud of me.
Yep.
Like, one of my favorite pictures ever is of, me in my cap and gown, and I'm hugging her, and she's just sobbing in my chest, and I just have this proud smile on my face. Like,
Yep.
So
You earned it.
yeah, so
I mean,
it wasn't that bad. I'll go, but no, it was. I mean, I don't think it was. What I mean is, I don't think it was more difficult really for me than a lot of other people. College is difficult for a lot of people. I mean, like, the beginning was.
let's not talk about paying for college. But anyway.
Yeah, but like, I think I managed okay. I think it was fine. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's easy for somebody who is not in this community to apply a label.
Right.
Too easy.
But
that's not okay.
well, and also, like, for me, in terms of other things I've got, because there's a list.
Well, I was going to say, we talked about mental things too. There are various types of mental disorders, and I'm sure we'll talk about some more. So.
I've often felt with my anxiety and depression that I feel like I'm just an unhappy person who can't seem to be happy no matter what. I feel that way, and of course that's the anxiety and depression talking.
Well, I mean,
there's a reason why I try to be like so funny and I write such funny things. I'm trying to humor myself and through also being funny to other people. It's like what Robin Williams went through. That's one of the reasons why his death hit me so dang hard.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember reading that if you can't laugh at yourself, you have no one left to laugh at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's actually the thing. Self-deprecating humor for me is actually kind of an empowering thing I've tried to... Because if you're comfortable enough with yourself to make fun of yourself...
yeah.
then it's actually good, That's... So, then you're more secure in yourself. It's not an insecure. I mean, it can be used as an insecurity thing, but there's also a lot of empowerment to self-deprecating humor, to the art of it.
If you've gotten to the point where you are comfortable enough in your skin that you don't take a negative impact just from poking fun at yourself,
Right.
then you have grown from being troubled by all the negative things people might say about you.
Right, and that's what we bring to this dumb show. See, it's not like...
I mean, we're being uncharacteristically heavy, but we're being characteristic to ourselves.
Yes, we are. Anyways, why are you listening to this crap? Anyways.
And for those of you still listening, thanks for listening.
Anyways, but I'm more than these things. Like we all are. Some people are severely affected by the mental diagnoses, though, and they seriously struggle to break free of them. Like my uncle was that way.
Yep.
While he loved trains and animals and was super, super sweet, he had a lot of mental issues coming from a lack of oxygen in his brain when he was born, and a lot of people defined him as that, and myself included. Like, basically, it depends on the situation. For what's worth, I did talk about when he died in episode 43 of The Ritwit, The Proper Treatment of Grief, and so many people came to his funeral. It was so nice. Like, so many people were affected by him and, like, wanted to... It was so nice. Anyway, are there certain taboo phrases to avoid when writing a character in your story, or perhaps intentionally use it to make a point about the reception of said afflicted population, you know?
A tolerant person never uses any synonym of unintelligent when talking with these people.
Right.
To them, about them.
Mm-hmm.
A patient person tries, until that runs out, to treat them on equal footing, meet them where they're at. A belligerent person who doesn't think about the impact of their words or care about consequences will break any taboo, sometimes completely intentionally.
Right.
The sad reality is that until the whole population is better educated, those things will slip into speech in reference to mentally affected patients.
Right.
Just feel better isn't enough for a person suffering from depressive disorders.
No.
Frustration from a nearby character spilling over onto the affected person is an all too common experience, but not being, humane and apologizing right away is simply unacceptable.
Right, exactly.
While everyone is free to do what they choose regarding medicating a problem of this ilk, my sister would not function without certain prescriptions, so talking about them like drug addicts is not okay.
Right, and I take medication too. Like a lot of it is no, all of it's prescription, but I mean some of it I take every day. Some of it is situational. So
my rule of thumb: if there's any definition you choose of normal, whatever that is, where something isn't okay to talk about, say, to the person,
right,
then here either it's certainly not okay. Oh, and while I'm at it, that same thing goes with literally every other topic we've done this set, in my opinion.
Well, like at one point in my book, Teslanauts coming out, a bad character does give a name, a bit of a slur, not a strong one. Like there's definitely worse ones he could have used to a certain demographic, like a certain group at one point. But he's the villain, and it's the time that it was in. So.
To bring it back, I think I said this last week about, the characters that you don't want people caring for.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll hold on to those old biases, those old, things that they just don't understand these people.
Mm-hmm. And
so they're going to say it anyway.
Right.
And while you might feel like dirty putting them in, the character sure doesn't mind.
To bring it back, so, I was watching this stand-up special with Donald Glover.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about how black people have co-opted the N-word. And they say it to each other as like kind of like to try and make sure the power of that word.
They regain the power by using that word.
The power. And they said that like they of course white people can't use it and all this other stuff and like all this other stuff like and like it's mainly like you gotta keep that thing. He said at one point he was having sex with this white chick and it was going great, they were building up and like finally just before the climax, like she whispered in his ear the N-word. And he stopped and paused, and then came the hardest he ever had before. And
just to spite her.
Well, no, like
Oh,
I
my
think
God.
somehow that made it
Somehow that made it better.
like
Oh, my
somehow
gosh.
the power of that word. And I think she meant it that way too.
Well, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have said much else because, white. Yeah. Anyway. Wow.
That's a hell of a story. I
Wow.
know. Anyways, the R word.
The
is-
Ritwit. Come for the content. Stay for the bad jokes.
So obviously, in terms of words not to use in this, the R word is
Absolutely
a no-go.
no-go.
Like I even felt uncomfortable saying it when talking about describing my uncle to people, even though he was literally medically defined R-worded.
Is that even is just not medically defined R word? I'm not sure. Anyway, whatever.
Well, because the word, but ending in an ed, I guess, but I guess,
Diagnosed.
yeah.
Anyway.
Though that word has too much baggage nowadays, co-opted by bullies who love to scream at anyone they deem different or wrong any chance they get.
See also gay slurs.
Yes, and a lot of other slurs.
Well, just about any slur
I'd say
is going to be used.
probably
by a bully.
all slurs, yeah. Also, anything like crazy, not right in the head, and other things like that, especially when played for comedy. Like, those things are okay, I guess, if it's not a mentally diagnosed person. But if a character calls themselves it's okay, especially if they don't have a diagnosis, like I said.
Well, they might assume and joke about it because they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, I'd imagine, is a lot more culturally okay than
Right.
somebody else just on a whim make a passing joke to a person who does indeed have it when they were trying to make a joke.
Right, but like in my Megazoic books, by on Amazon.com, one of the first characters introduced is Cortan's neighbor Vooneron, who has the nickname Voon the Loon due to being senile and ridiculous in combat.
Ridiculously good.
Yeah, and he does a lot of like ridiculous stunts and other sort of stuff that people like, "Whoa, you're mad" or whatever kind of stuff like that.
You're loony. Positively loony.
But he came up with that nickname himself, and he proudly proclaims himself to be that. So a few others close to him also call him it occasionally.
I mean, if you're giving yourself the moniker, then it gives other people close to you license to do the same, because you obviously don't mind.
Right. And there are times when Cortan does say it to him kind of in an angry way. And so it's a gray area. But, people have different situations and different tolerances, so.
To the tolerance point, and I said when patience runs out, it's hard to rein in those things. That frustration just boils over in somebody else because no matter how much you try. For example, my sister special needs. My dad, when raising her, he kept getting a shorter and shorter fuse.
Yeah.
But he was always slow to anger, and so watching that and it'd be easier to set him off was really, really disappointing to me because my dad, more patient than I am, and if this is happening to him, then what hope do I have?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, tolerance, and occasionally you're going to need to change a pace, refresh yourself if you're dealing with these people. But I'm sure that they would like to have a change of pace too, that it's not always the same people that get angry at them, that it's not always the same people putting up with them, that kind of a thing.
Right. But, so, though research in this field is younger than the available literature for physical deformities, are there still guides that could enable a writer without first-hand experience to properly tackle this subject matter that's quite touch and go in daily life?
If it comes from an internationally recognized medical facility like the Mayo Clinic or National Health Services, you get the picture, I suspect.
Right.
It's probably good reading and would help in being accurate to portraying a character with these afflictions.
Right, exactly.
Any celebrity hospital, one that's known worldwide for being expert on a procedure, certain discipline, all the celebrities trust it because it's that good.
Right, that kind of thing.
Should have plenty of info as well. I will go ahead and very briefly talk about various kinds of disorders in special links. All of them will be linked in the description.
Right.
I tried linking a bunch of various outlets, and each of those outlets may have more on different kinds of disorders as well. So go ahead and you pick your own sources.
Right.
With the warning that terms do become quite technical.
Yes, that is true.
So some may have like less stiff science-y naming conventions at the expense of depth.
Right.
So those may be your forte, or maybe you want to read the dissertations on things.
I mean, it depends on how much research you are willing to do, you know?
But there is literal encyclopedias worth of information out there.
Mm-hmm.
To get you started, though,
Yes.
we'll just wind up the car and let her rip.
All right.
The first link that I want to give you is from medlineplus.gov, and it's literally mentaldisorders.html. They've got brief explainers about certain things, typical symptoms, and they have links to other pages on their website.
Right.
Or the Mayo Clinic, which also has, under their diseases, conditions, information, stuff about mental illness and symptoms, causes, and whatnot.
And you said that all this is in the description, right?
Yeah,
for this
all of it
episode?
will be in the description.
So-
I'm not going to go ahead and read any more of the actual links, and they'll just be in the description. Trust us, and sorry for all the work done.
That's okay. It's just copy and paste.
So, several different kinds of anxiety, not just anxiety disorders, but there are several kinds of mental diagnoses. So, to read about anxiety disorders, this article was taken from the National Institute of Mental Health.
Yeah.
So, that'll be in the description.
Yes, thank you.
Other mood disorders. And I accessed this from Mental Health America, their main webpage, mhanational.org.
Okay, cool.
From the American Psychology Association with regards to personality disorders.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about stuff like that, like sociopathy and like psychopathy and other stuff, which a lot of people tend to mix up, but they're very different. So
They are very different.
So
So if you want to know the specifics, go there.
yeah. Okay.
There's their site's psychiatry.org, by the way.
Right.
Psychiatry and psychology, you're aware of the difference, I suppose. But
Yeah.
for the listeners who aren't, psychiatry is somebody licensed to prescribe some medicine
Yes.
for a thing rather than just analyze what's going on.
Mhm.
That's the quote-unquote shrink, the psychologist.
And
Anyhow.
a lot of movies and other stuff tend to confuse the two. Like a lot of times when you see,
It's about as easy to confuse them as I confuse anthropology and paleontology.
you mean archaeology?
Archaeology and paleontology.
Anthropology's pretty different.
You're right. It is. Sorry. You know what I meant. You corrected me. Thank you. God, I'm now even...
You're confusing anthropology and archaeology.
One's about the past. The other's about the past. No.
Confuse etymology with entomology. Etymology is the...
Etymology is the origin of words. Entomology is the study of insects.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm not completely unintelligent at times.
At times, yes.
I acknowledge that. Anyway, this one comes from a recognized source that doesn't have the .org tag on their
Oh
site.
no!
But anyway,
it's not good that
It is WebMD. They do have a page talking about stress disorders and also dealing with them because it talks about effects of stress on your body.
Right, exactly.
From Dignity Health, there's a page on neurodevelopmental disorders. From the Cleveland Clinic, there is a page about somatic symptom disorders.
Yeah.
And for those of you who have no idea what that means, just go look at the article. It can explain it way quicker than I can. And from Medline Plus, which I linked earlier, a page on neurocognitive disorders. I said neurodevelopmental, that usually occurs in developmental. These come later in life, so
Right.
like dementia, Alzheimer's,
Yes.
that kind of a thing.
My grandfather had Alzheimer's. My maternal grandmother.
And that tends to be hereditary.
I'm a bit scared. I've heard it skips generations too.
You're really screwed now.
So,
I don't know which side it's actually more likely to come from. Like, what is it that male pattern baldness is from your mother's father's family?
yeah.
I don't get it. But anyway.
My hair is thinning. It's gonna be. Based on my mother's family though. It's gonna be nice and brown.
For a long time.
But
Whereas my hair is already graying in several places. I was standing outside in the sun when my mom was taking the dog out, and she's like, "Wow, you're really graying." I'm like, "Just what I wanted to hear right now, Mom. Thanks."
I don't know, I'd rather my hair be graying than receding.
Well, I think my temples are receding anyway.
Yeah.
But the fact that I'm graying and not even at 30, that's scary. Because my dad didn't gray that quick.
No.
Like, his facial hair was gray.
Right.
But his hair didn't gray until later, so I'm sad that I didn't get that.
I already told the story of when my barber was like, "How old are you?" And like, "I'm 25," and they're like, "Oh God."
Get Bosley. No, anyway.
I'm 29 now.
By the way,
soon to be 30. So.
By the way, we're not sponsored by any products, but if anybody wants to, throw a sponsorship so support our podcast, that'd be great. Finally,
hair not hair loss products.
Yeah.
Like helping with hair loss products. That'd be great.
Helping with hair
Hair recovery.
recovery. Yeah.
That's the word.
Finally, has a source for dealing with said people,
Which is probably important for
but particularly for the support community that they're supposed to have in the books as well. Do keep in mind that these may help in your real life also, not just your stories. From MHA National, there is the page on recognizing warning signs for any of these mental diagnoses, etc.
Right.
So
is that it for that part of the show?
yeah, I believe so. But
Okay.
since it's the last episode of our set,
Reading the fan mail.
Woo!
I'm going to read some of. Do you mind if I read some of these since you talked for so long?
Go for it.
Yeah, for a lot. Okay. So after such a heavy set, we made the executive decision to filter out messages from the interim that are terribly irrelevant.
or irreverent either.
Or irreverent, yes. Oh, that's what the word you used
Yeah.
here. Okay. So to those of you that asked of us about some of our more sensual ads.
Yes.
Had some good ones lately, though. We see you and may share those comments at a more appropriate time.
Not this time.
Meanwhile, after sifting through some other contacts, a couple of comments on the peanut gallery. I mean, our listeners. How about you read the first one?
Okay. From listener Lance M. in Biloxi, Mississippi, he writes, "How can you say that vehicles aren't instantly identifiable? I'm pretty darn sure I can pick the Enterprise out of a lineup. I think the Star Destroyers are pretty iconic. Heck, even a Model T Ford has a distinctive shape."
Wait, I'm confused. I have such a terrible memory. I'm going to get Alzheimer's when I get older. What are we talking about here?
I'm not even done reading the email yet.
Oh,
I'd argue that there are plenty of vehicles where that's true. It's a shame you guys don't believe so. I actually did have to go through the back catalog myself to find what Lance was referring to. But in episode 94, which was ending things satisfyingly, I believe.
Yeah.
Go listen to it, kids. Ding. We got onto a talk about how vehicles as quote-unquote characters, entities, don't really stand out. After considering the context, while we're grateful for Lance's email, they don't stand out on the page.
That is true.
Picture evidence is a whole different animal. You mentioned things from TV shows, movies, old history books that have those kinds of photos that everyone's eyes can see. And, you know, if you're really good at describing your vehicles in the story, maybe your descriptions are good enough with a discernible design feature.
Right, but
to the readers.
It's much easier to see in visual medium, yeah.
But generally, man, it's just another behemoth battleship that we can't visualize independently of a different one. But hey, we appreciate the contact.
I mean, hell, for my Megazoic books, like, there are so many different types of dinosaur in them. I bet you a lot of people just visualize them as humans.
And because of how you wrote them, it might not be too wrong. But anyway.
I describe, like, their spikes and their claws and their size quite often. But, you know, visual. Like, even though all these species look very different, they look very different to me, the way in my head and the way I describe them. Some people might have issues with that and issues
enough.
with, yeah, so you never know. From listener Bonnie in Rapid City, South Dakota, she writes in, have you ever thought about revisiting your oldest episodes with the newest set format? Ooh. I'm sure someone could be mined in more detail. Bonnie, thanks for listening and getting in touch with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
While there are topics we haven't addressed more in depth since we going into the more frequent releases, despite them doing them earlier, some we kind of reference, and also we don't want to keep rehashing the same points over and over again. In fact, it's arguable David and I probably could get away with stopping a few months ago, right?
We're definitely broken records, that's for sure.
We say so many things multiple times on this podcast. Like, I did a whole thing on, like, the 64 thing where I was like, I might have done this before. I don't remember. That said, there's a couple things that might deserve a longer treatment, and we're weighing those options internally. In fact, we already did one of them. Like, we talked about, like, starting, continuing, and finishing a story. We did a full version of that.
True.
So,
but there are some other things that we haven't yet gotten to. So, however, in the end, I mean, we need to have a set if we're going to do a revisit of this.
Right.
And if we don't think it's strong enough for the two of us to carry a full set of releases, it'll probably just stay in the early history of the Ritwit.
And of course, there's all those times we've done the Witties in multiple things.
Yeah, one time we had to do a full set because we skipped a year.
And the last
that was benevolent for you.
And the last time I had to do a full set because, it was 2020, so we could split it apart more easily.
True enough. All right. Well, the last email we're going to read for you today from one Katie B in Nashville, Tennessee. Trying my hand as a singer-songwriter in the home of country music. Of course, listening to the radio voices you guys have is inspiration for those long drives when I'm seeking out gigs. How nice.
How nice.
My plight made me think about something. Have you guys ever wanted to take your act on the road?
Oh, boy, I'd love to. If it wasn't for this damn pandemic going on.
Boy, howdy. Katie, wouldn't it be something to see us on the road? But, the realities we face as late 20s single white guys who haven't made it big with anything yet speak quite differently. Besides, those radio voices you tout are accompanied by radio faces that aren't ideal for public consumption.
I don't know. I like to think I grew into my face a little bit.
I just think my face is growing. But yeah, it would be like a pipe dream to go out and do a live episode somewhere else.
Some people do like tours, and that sounds so fun. Sounds like a lot of work to set up, though, but boy, it'd be fun.
And the first concern of a tour or any other location is the sound quality, and that's why we're pretty happy with the studio we get to use here.
It's true, and I think the first issue with the studio on tour is the crowd. Is there one?
Yeah, it's definitely a problem.
No.
We need like a publicist to help, or else we wouldn't
Publicist! We're listening!
Carl!
We've got great content!
Obviously.
Help us get it to the world!
Or just listen to I Know Dino. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, that was
That's another reference. Anyway, best of luck on your career. We hope you keep listening to our podcast. And if we inspire you to write any particular lyrics, we'll gladly take a small cut of any of your royalties.
This is the Red Wig.
But, hey, I should mention, I'm mostly kidding. But as a fellow musician, I have to try, right?
Maybe you guys could collaborate.
It's possible. Katie, stay in touch. All right. Anyway, thanks to all of those who got in touch with us.
Yes.
It's much appreciated. We could share these with the other listeners.
Yes, we could. And we have. And we will. And we did. That's it for this week.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, though, we'll tell you how right here. So, along with all those other Patreon goodies and stuff that we usually do.
Huge thank you to all our patrons.
Yeah, if you're interested, go check out patreon.com/Matthew Donald.
Yes. Contact us at mattd@matthewdonaldcareer.com for any general questions to either co-host.
Please specify David or Donald if you want to refer to one of us. And let us know if we can share those things on the air like we just did for those 3 emails we got.
Absolutely. And if you want to follow me personally, you can follow me at Matthew Donald Career on Facebook, at MatthewDonald64 on Twitter, and MatthewDonald64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because that's how many categories of underpants I have in my dresser.
Oh, dear God. I'd love to interrupt with something about, please rate us on Apple Podcasts, but don't listen to this crap.
Casual boxers, casual briefs.
You're actually listing them.
Casual boxer briefs.
Oh, my God.
Hot weather boxers, cold weather boxer briefs.
Between...
Cold weather long underwear.
No.
Man thongs.
No.
Naughty
Okay.
man panties.
All right, we get it. We get the
Emergency use.
No, we
Religious
don't.
undergarments. Relaxation
For God's
boxers.
sake,
Stressful
Donald.
times briefs.
All right, that's enough. Donald,
Swimsuit
stop
doublers.
it.
Loose boxers.
Oh my
ball
God.
cradling briefs. Adult diapers.
Okay, we get it. You have way too much underwear. God.
A man's got to cradle his nether regions in some great variety. You know?
If for any reason you're still listening to this podcast anymore,
please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcast, listeners.
like the video, subscribe for more content, all that good stuff.
Oh, God.
But anyway.
All right, well, that's it. We tweet ourselves out about rating. I'm Matt Donald.
I'm Matt David. We'll be back next time with a new set, not about inclusivity. It's still important.
It's
Don't
gonna
forget
be
to include them.
It's going to be something dumb to balance this out.
We have to balance it out now.
All the different ways you can have your characters pick their nose. Episode 1, using the finger. Episode 2, using...
How long did you want these episodes to run again? Anyway.
Actually, there really isn't another way. Is there? Using a
Use a toenail.
Use a
toothpick. If you're still listening to our drivel, I feel sorry for you. You might want to seek mental assistance. Go check out those resources.
Oh, God. How to deal with people like us, anyways.
Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Get a vaccine if you can, or if you haven't already.
Should you want a vaccine, try and get one. If you don't,
you
keep
should.
others safe.
You should want one, but whatever. Anyways.
Anyhow, we'll see you
Bye.
next time. Bye.
The Red Wig Podcast.
Angus is here to help.